Welcome back on Dynamod. Today I want to propose you a video about
the facts released for the General Handbook 22-23 Season 1. This it's my first video about such General Handbook because previously there were few facts and sincerely I didn't thought that it was necessary. Now it's been released a great amount of facts and so I think that it's worth doing such video because there has been quite a lot of changes and so I think and clarifying, so I think that it's really right to make such videos so that you can understand what has been changed about such releasing. So now we can see such one and see what are the changes. First fact that we see it's the classical problem about the summoning. So if I add unit to a pitch battle army after a battle has started, can I do so in excess of any limits that apply? For example, could I summon extra behemoths in my army already included the maximum number it can take? And the answer is the limit on the number of leaders, artillery units, and behemoth only apply when you are picking your army, and it's obvious that it's so. So you can ignore these limits when you add these kind of units to your army. The limit of unique units still applies, and also this because you can't have two Nagash on the battlefield, obviously. However, you can never have more than one of the same type of unique unit in your army. So it's obvious because unique units are obviously the unique characters and so on. So you can't have duplicate of the same specific character. So I think that it's obvious. The other thing is that when you buy and you create your army, you have to have certain choices. But if you are able to summon in, you obviously avoid those at the beginning. Otherwise, you should prevent and understand what will summon and what you will need in the battle before even you create your roster. It's obviously not available such option. So it's an obvious as well, but if there was some misunderstanding about such, it's okay that has been solved. The next fact, it's quite simple, but it's good that there is. So if a pitch battle profile for a unit appears in the Master Ancient General Handbook, can you use that unit in pitch battles even if that unit is not listed in the table of a specific faction? And the obvious answer is yes, because it has been published, it's official. So if the society publication is updated, you can use. So it's not a problem. Anyway, it's good that it is because there are sometimes that you could have some misunderstanding about, so it's okay. It's about if I have multiple abilities and other effects to be applied at the start of my hero phase, can I apply them before I pick my battle tactics? And it's yes. And this is quite important, this one, because it means that you can apply those abilities. For example, you can conquer some objective, you can try to apply some abilities so that you can solve a battle tactics that you are going to catch, to pick up, and so make the battle tactics chosen. So, for example, you can make that you damage with certain abilities a certain unit so that it's easier then to kill, and then you can make the battle tactic that you have to kill with a certain type of units that otherwise you'll not be able to do, or move in certain places that otherwise you will not have a reach there, and so on. So there are a lot of options that make such fact quite important and understandable. So it's something that you have to remember because it's important. It's about the timing of the applying of the battle tactics, and you can eventually pick a certain battle tactics based on the result of your abilities that you applied at the start of your hero phase before to pick up the battle tactic itself. It's about if you can gain control of multiple objectives in the lurkers below in the same turn, and the answer is no. So I think that you have to take as it is because it's related about a specific battle plan. That's quite interesting because it's about setting up faction terrain feature in the Battlelines Throne battle plan, and it's about a yes, the courtesy of the battlefield in this battle plan are only treated as objective and do not prevent you from setting up models or terrain features. So it's a good thing because it clarifies how it works, the battle itself, and if you play, for example, the Freshwater course or the Seraph and so on, you can be quite happy to know that your terrain feature can be put, also the Simanet eventually. About what we have seen just now, it's the question about if you can set up a gray site using the subred keywords battle trait, the unquet dead, in the button line draws battle pen, and this say yes, see the above, because we have just seen so that those quarters of battlefield are simply treated as objective, but not to prevent, so they are quite similar eventually as the subred keywords bottom, the unquet dead with the gray site works. So it's good that there is, and the subred keywords thank you. So one is quite interesting because it's about if an effect would increase the wound characteristics of a Galletian veteran units above the required threshold if that unit loses the Galletian veteran keyword, and this say no. So I think that it's refer about an increase or so on after the choosing of the units themselves that are having the keyword Galletian veterans, so they don't lose what they gained, not that they had yet the upgrade, and so they could have the Galatian veterans. So it's quite important because it makes that you can in some artificial way increase the wound characteristic of Galatian veteran units and at the same time still have that keyword. So it's not related about the amount of wounds that unit has for each model after that you selected them as Galatian veterans and deployed on the battlefield. A fact that I'm not agreeing with it, not misunderstand me, can be useful, but I don't think that it's correct. Because if I add a unit to my army after the battle begins, and that unit meets the requirements to gain the Galatian veteran keyword, does that unit gain the keyword? And the answer is yes. But sincerely, I think that it's not fair, because you should consider the Galatian veterans only the ones that you selected when you created the roster, because you give that keyword to the Galatian veterans. So I don't think that it's a good thing. For example, thinking about the subaggregators that can summon, for example, the Darwolves that can gain such keyword, because they are not the mounts, they are the models. So I think that it's something that it's not fair more than correct, but sincerely, okay, there is, but I think that something that gains such keywords should be brought with you and not summoned after only it. Have a fact that it's not so simple as you can think, because it's if I add a unit to my army after the battle begins and that unit has a battle line battlefield role, does that unit count as battle line unit for the purposes of rules, battle tactics, and grand strategies? And the answer is yes. Pay attention because it means that also the other units count as their own ones. And it's not so simple because in the past, GW made that the summoning units were not having the battle line roles, so that only the ones that you put on your roost and so on were the ones that had the battlefield role, and not the other ones. So it was different because now it means that you can summon, think about the Flesh Eater course, you can summon the elites or the battle lines in the way that you can satisfy certain options, certain needing that you have. So you don't have to worry about saving such some units or so on, because you have to sacrifice them and then you can simply summon them again. It's not so simple, so you have to pay a lot of attention because this is more important than you can think. It's about a way to complete the grand strategy show dominance, and it's said that it's available to do this having one Galatian veteran unit in the center of the battlefield which has one or more models within each trouble quarter. So simply you have such options available. A fact related about the coalition unit that we have seen before in the normal rulebook, so here it's proposed again, so that coalition units does not count toward the number of battle line units in your army, so to reach the minimum amount of battle lines and so on, you can't use such trick. However, they do count towards the maximum number of leader, behemoth, and artillery units in your army, and it's quite important, this one. In addition, coalition units are ignored when determining if the units in your army are from a single faction. A change about the Gates of Gur, that it's a spell specific for the General Handbook related because it's the environment of Gur, this one. So Gates of Gur is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 12 inch, and if successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster, until your next hero phase. When determining the number of models in that enemy unit that are contesting an objective, your opponent must halve that number, rounding down. So it's quite important when you think about controlling the objective and you think about the Galatian veterans, can be even more interesting because you can simply solve eventually problems related about the doubling that you have. You understand what I mean, right? Anyway, it's really quite nice. I change about the victory points for the price of Gallet, so that each player scores victory points at the end of each of their turn as follows. Score 1 victory point if you control at least one activated objective. Score 1 victory point if you control 2 or more activate objectives. Score 1 victory point if you control more activate objectives than your opponent. And score 2 victory points if you completed the battle tactics you picked that turn. So it's quite a lot to gain victory points. So you can have to see it quite good to use such price of the Gallet. A fact about in presence of videos inspiring icons, you have to change to after deployment but before determining who will take the first turn in the first battle round. Each player must pick 3 different friendly units on the battlefield, starting with the attacker. The unit each player picks are their idle units for that battle. Roadcloak and incarnate units cannot be picked as idle units, and half the number of models that flee due to a failed battle shock test, rounding down, while their unit is wholly within 6 inches of any idle units in their army. So it's practically a standard beer. Anyway, okay, it's quite nice because it's a way to make that you can gain quite a lot. And sincerely, it's something that you should remember when you had the icons to play with. That I didn't like because it was in the Gallet releasing about the Battlescroll, and it was the change point about the Donate of Slaanesh. Now in the facts it's better because it's associated to a change eventually, even if it has been released also the upgrade of points and so on, so it should be there. But okay, there is such change about the points, about the Donate of Slaanesh, and you take as it is a change and simply it. And there is a fact about the unit size change of the Packmaster unit to size 3, and it's simply this. I said about the points for the Donators launch could be applied also to the Scaven, even if you have to think that the Scaven are quite new, so it's okay that there are. Simply, I should think that they should be in the fact about the Scaven. Put here, see that you have the desire to change them quite soon. I don't understand. Anyway, you have simply to know that in the new battle that you picked, there is a change of points that you have to really look up to. With 2 facts together because they are the Necropolis Stalkers and the Mortis Guard that are the same unit simply in 2 different ways, and this become battle line if the genre is a Mortisan. I talked about this in my video about the Battlescroll Gallet. Still, I think that it's quite amazing because you are not anymore related about having the options to have only the Liege eventually as genre because the Mortisan was useless, so it was better to have the genre itself as a Liege. And this is quite important because you gain the option to have more battle lines and you can even make your armies even more varied because you can simply have Necropolis Stalkers, Mortis Guard and not use the Mortar Guard eventually. So you can really personalize a lot your type of army, and I think that it's really quite a good thing for the Osterborn Reapers. Have a change about the notes of the Good Triplets that say that for each Good Triplets unit included in your army, you can take 1 Hobgrowth Slitats unit as a battle line unit. So it's something that the player of such army would like quite a lot.
So, from Dynamod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.